Episode 8 of Ballard starts with a flashback to the night Ballard was attacked by Driscoll. It turns out that Olivas dropped by and tried to get more information on the attack from the captain. Thankfully, even the captain didn't know much at the time. After that night, Olivas started working on a plan to cover up his involvement with Driscoll and take over as the new boss. He also checked the case files to see how much Ballard knew. After this, he called an impromptu meeting with the other corrupt cops and promised them that they are safe. He also promised to take over Driscoll and keep their little side jobs going. Manny suggested they drop Martina, but Olivas asked him to stay on her. Back in the present, Ballard briefs her team and they start looking into the other corrupt cops too. So far, they've identified only 4 dirty cops and Manny is not on their list just yet. The team soon start identifying the remaining dirty cops one by one. LaFont uses his old connections to find the identity of the cop who met with Driscoll on the night they tailed him. On the side, LaFont also meets Gael's mum to get her DNA and continue with the search for her son. It's a long shot, but LaFont is determined. Meanwhile, Zamira is disappointed that the truth about Olivas' sexual crimes won't come out. Ballard encourages her to still take the win and keep on marching on. Simultaneously, Ballard finds a new theory on the serial killer case. She calls the new detective in charge and leaves her a few voicemails. As for Martina, she accidentally sees Manny's burner phone when she visits him for dinner. She secretly takes pictures of his messages with Olivas and rushes to tell Ballard. At first, Ballard worries that Martina was complicit, but after checking her phone, she realizes that Manny took advantage of the intern. Thankfully, Martina doesn't confront Manny here and he remains clueless. Later at the team debrief, Ted accuses Martina of being a liability to the team. Colleen calls him aside and scolds him for being too harsh on Martina. Ballard suggests they use Martina as bait to get to Manny and convince him to turn on the others. Martina agrees to the plan as she feels guilty. However, Ballard apologizes and assures her that it's not her fault. Elsewhere, Jake visits to apologize to Ballard for being unable to give her back the Sarah case. He thanks her for her help so far, and Ballard contacts the new detective on the case and leaves another message. The team puts its plan into action and arrests Manny. The guy asks to be taken to a secure facility instead of the station, so the team take him to Ted's office. Manny talks to his lawyers here and agrees to confess everything. He starts by naming all the corrupt cops and identifies Olivas as the new leader. After getting Manny's statement, LaFont and Ballard bring in the captain. He promises to summon the necessary authorities to take up the case. Ballard and Zamira are relieved to finally get Olivas. Tutu congratulates Ballard on getting her guy. Something Tutu says gives Ballard an epiphany about the serial killer's motives. The team gets a secondary win when LaFont gets a possible lead on Gael. He sets up a meeting to collect the boy's DNA and find out if his hunch is actually true. Meanwhile, Ballard starts ignoring Aaron. She turns all her attention to getting Sarah's case back and follows through on her new theory. Somehow, she convinces the captain to give her the case back. She summons the team and shares her theory. Ballard thinks that a killer attacks women who are excelling in life. All the victims were doing well in life at the time of their deaths, however the only exception here happens to be Sarah. After the team leaves, Ballard informs Zamira that the DA will be arresting Olivas and the others the following morning. Later that night, Colleen and Martina meet for drinks. Ballard hangs back to work on the case with Zamira, and while going through the evidence they notice a lipstick that was found under Sarah's bed. Zamira points out that it's weird since it's from a brand for black women. They also realise that the lipstick was not processed for DNA. The scene cuts to the following morning as Olivas drops his son at school. Ballard calls him from Manny's burner phone and mocks him right before his arrest. As expected, Olivas is furious, but Zamira and Ballard enjoy the show as episode 8 comes to an end. Episode 9 of Ballard starts with Ballard getting the DNA analysis from the lipstick. It turns out it didn't belong to Sarah after all, but to a woman named Naomi Bennett. A dive into Naomi's past leads them to consider if she was actually the killer's accomplice. However, that theory is quickly thrown out when they learn that Naomi is a victim. She is the only surviving victim of their killer. Ballard quickly updates the captain and he asks him to drive to Madeira and talk to Naomi. The captain also warns Ballard to expect fallout from the Olivas' case. On her way out, Ballard runs into an acquaintance who mentions that there are rumours that the seniors are considering bringing Ballard back to homicide. Ballard and Zamira take the drive to Madeira and meet with Naomi. Unfortunately, Naomi is too traumatised and can barely remember her attack. Ballard asks her to take the day to think about helping them. The next morning, they visit Naomi again and ask her to join them in LA. They all hope that the trip will stir up Naomi's memories. Naomi agrees, but even after seeing the evidence, she has a hard time remembering anything useful. She fell apart after the attack, and it's too hard for her to revisit the trauma. However, they start retracing Naomi's life days before her attack. As the investigation heats up, Jake Nelson visits Ballard to ask her to talk to the press. Jake's opponent is trying to use his support for the cold case team to discredit him. Although hesitant, Ballard agrees to do an interview alongside Jake to change the narrative. In the meantime, Martina asks Ted to review her statement on the Manny case. After reading Martina's statement, Ted apologizes to her and admits that Manny was a jerk. Martina and Colleen are happy to see Ted finally get their point. LaFont focuses on tracking down Gael and also gets the lead on a suspicious man. The man in question, Casey, has a connection to 2 victims. However, this lead turns out to be another dead end. Although Casey has a history of violence, he's not their guy. After a long day, Ballard goes back home to work on her board. She also confesses to Tutu that she likes working with the cold case team and she no longer wants to go back to homicide. The following morning, LaFont and Tamira take Naomi to her old apartment. Naomi starts remembering the attack but is unable to recall the culprit's face. In the meantime, Ballard is sidelined in a TV interview when the reporter brings up rumours of her possible replacement. It turns out Jake had considered replacing her as the leader of the team after her attack. Later that evening, Aaron meets with Ballard and breaks up with her. Unfortunately, he wants more but understands Ballard can't give him what he wants. The next morning, Ballard joins Tamira and Naomi at the latter's old workplace. Ballard notices that the salon workers park around the corner and asks the team to widen their search area as a result. By expanding this search, they also go back and look into what was happening back in 2000. Naomi remembers some construction going on at that time. Ballard talks to the building manager and gets a list of the subcontractors working on the construction at that time. In an unexpected twist, Naomi identifies Gary Perlman, Sarah's dad, from the subcontractors list. The killer Jake has been looking for all these years was right under their noses. Ballard immediately calls Ted, who is currently at Gary's house, and informs him of what's going on. Ted tries to play it cool, but he had already mentioned to Gary that they found a living victim. Gary notices that his gig is up and pulls a gun on Ted. Ted also quickly pulls his gun, and the episode ends with Ballard on the phone with Ted as a gunshot rings out. And just as Ted was starting to get more likable, we get this shocking twist right at the end of this chapter. Gary killed Sarah and all these other women, and he's been right under our noses the whole time, using his son to monitor the investigation. I doubt anyone really saw this coming, so Ballard managed to get a sucker punch in all of us with a lovely little twist. This is certainly a lot to process, but how did they miss this? The DNA should have linked back to Sarah, so why didn't Codis flag it? What happens now? How will Jake take this news? And most importantly, will Ted make it out alive? Of course, we're also happy that LaFont is making progress in his search for Gael. Gail's mum has been through a lot, and if this DNA does come back positive, she might reunite with her son after 6 years. There are so many questions, leaving everything wide open for where the finale may go next. Thanks for watching, and do let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash a like or subscribe to the channel, your support is very much appreciated. I'm Greg Wheeler, and from all of us over here at The Review Geek, we'll see you on the next video.